Opinions expressed are in the toilet. Now here's John.
Big John. Hey, this is good afternoon. This is John Campion, and I'm your co-host with Greg Wyatt, and we got a guy behind him with training wheels going on again, but he'll soon be flying high, and that's Ray.
Next week.
That's it. And of course, we've got as our guest today, many of you may be familiar with him because he is the man about town, Eric Keene, C&W Technologies. Welcome, Eric.
Good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Like normal. I love it.
All we got to do is kind of just give him a little push and let him go, right, Greg?
So how many years was your show on here? Was it about 10, 12 years?
It was about 12 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
12 years.
We miss you.
Wow,
yeah.
He drank the Kool-Aid, didn't he? Good. He must have had some good Kool-Aid back then.
There was a good story behind that one, though. Why I got onto that show, and I don't know, Greg, if you remember it or not. It was I had been offered to do a show early on, and I can't remember what radio station. It might even have been Coast, but I'm not sure. They wanted to do a talk show, call-in show, or whatever about, or a little snippet thing about computers, and it was early on, and I just said, nope, don't have the time. Could have kicked myself for not doing it. And I think I told you, Greg, when you called up, or I said, hey, we're doing this new we've changed the format. WSTU is going to be all talk, and do you want to do you might want to do your a call-in radio show? And I said yes. I didn't ask how much. I said I was not.
True.
I did not. I said I didn't even know what time slot. We hadn't figured that out. It was like, I'm just going to do it because I missed it the first time, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity the second time. And it was good for its time, in its time, at the time when we did it for all those years, it fit in. It was a good thing to do. So
that's when you went from computers and putting computer desks together to
way
really,
before that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And to a magnificent business that you've built, and great crew and culture and all that. So,
yeah.
As a business owner and somebody who's known you for about maybe 10, 12 years, very impressed and proud of you to see how successful and how much you really can contribute. You contribute to the community.
Yeah. Well, this is our 36th year. We're 36 years old of C&W Technologies. Back then it was C&W Computers originally, but
sure.
But 36 years. How
many years have you been in the Martin County Business Exchange?
So
you were one of the originals.
No. You brought me in. And we had yeah, that's right. Yes, you did, Greg.
And we're in our 32nd year, I think.
Yeah, no, Greg, I think it was
it's a bear being seen.
I think
now.
it was
Let me tell you.
I think it was like 2007, and just before, or 2006, somewhere in that neighborhood. Just before, not too long before the Great Recession. It was in that time frame. So
I think that's about the time I slid in there. I had somebody bring me in. I had no idea what the heck I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen a lot of transformations and whatnot. So wow, 36 years. Way to go, dude.
Hey, well, you know what? And I've actually been in the industry longer. And so I was actually I was thinking about that the other day, actually. It's funny because I was sitting there looking at what I was doing before I did had my own business. And I was a manager of a small chain that went up and down the coast here a little bit, became kind of the general manager. And I was a programmer before that. And I was thinking about it, though. And I said,
was that all here?
Yeah.
Or somewhere?
Well, I was mostly based around here. Yes. And went all the way from Miami to Fort Pierce. And my rule was, I was thinking about it. I said, my rule was when they self-imploded, they just, the owners, and they did stuff that just went and it basically imploded. And, I just thought when I opened up, I said, if I just don't do what they did, I'll probably be a success. And it was funny. I said, okay, I guess it worked. It worked. But
that's good.
It's been interesting. I'm in a business that has changed dramatically over the years and continues to change. And but I told my team the other day, I said, you know what? I said the other day, it's a few months back now. I said,
this 3 years ago, Florida time.
Pre-COVID, I said, this was in January, actually. So I was actually saying to them, with what I'm seeing coming along in the industry, I said, I am just as excited as those early days of when computers were just brand new and you know, just getting into the business sector and all that. And that still holds true even through COVID and all that. I see a tremendous opportunity and change and things coming along and in the technology field. It's happening right now, and it's going to keep on happening. So,
see, I used to test computers and strength of computers because I throw them out of second story windows.
I was going to say,
It's, it just see if they still work.
I have an interesting story about that.
Oh no!
I hired a guy back when IBM was building them out of Boca. You know, they build all the IBM PCs in Boca. So we hired a guy that had worked for IBM. He seemed to have good qualifications, and I mean he good. He got good. They all said he did a good job and all the rest of it. And we kind of figured, well, it was all because of IBM moving their manufacturing elsewhere and so forth. So we thought we had a find, and this guy was super nice guy and really, really good guy. But everything he would go out on, it just wouldn't get fixed, or it would break or whatever. And we finally learned that his job was his primary job. He and another guy, they would give them the computers, and his job was to work on them and to break them. His job was to find the flaws, find the things that would not work right on him. And he just had this talent he would touch things and just wouldn't work. And as hard as we trained him and much as we tried, it was just his natural ability was to break things. And IBM had identified that and found the perfect job for him until they moved it out of it. So
that's awesome.
Great guy. I really, really great guy. But it was not to be for fixing computers. That was not his forte.
Thus the company that started out there called You Break, I Fix.
There you go.
Eric, I will say that you talk about the industry and you've been in it, and the thing that amazed me a few years ago is how fast it seemed like it's just going and moving and fast, and so many of the things you've shared with us over the last few years with the group, and I've been at presentations, and it is, I don't know how do you like hook up to some station at night? You know how when they say you go to bed and you can memorize the book if they, you hear it over, but you are like a walking encyclopedia. I shouldn't say encyclopedias because they're history. You've got your own little.
How about online?
You got a little, we stick the USB in you, and you got it all. I mean, you are really amazing. And
it is. I think if you're in any field, you want to try to keep on learning. Again, it kind of goes back to what when I was saying I couldn't really believe that I've really been in this like 40 years. But when I say. I take my age and I say, I know people in business and so forth that they're talking retirement, they're wanting to be getting out of the business, or whatever the business might be. And I talk to them and I look at it and I say, but my gosh, I'm not even middle age. Of course, I always say that, well, I'm going to live to 120. So I'm not even middle age yet. What would I do for the last half of my life? And I said, it's too exciting and too much fun things going on and too many interesting things, and there's different avenues. I mean, granted, I have a great team, and I do not do as much of the on the technical side as I used to. I have a great team that does a job, and they can probably do a lot of things. Well, I know they can do a whole lot better than I can now because they do it day in and day out and they keep things running. But there's the business aspect, there's the community aspect, there's tying it all together. And using that knowledge that I've gained with the technology and the business side to kind of meld it all together, so that other businesses can succeed with leveraging my knowledge, my knowledge that I've gained over these years, and I'm happy to give it out. It's not something proprietary. That's just it's only me. I've learned it from a lot of good guys too. So in fact, that's the one thing I wish I had learned early on was that if I was a member of a CEO group or other groups that you could be a part of, where you could share business ideas and concepts and so forth, whether it was industry specific or not. If I'd been in there earlier, my business would be much bigger than it is now. I'll just say that.
You also were the first person I ever met who had a hybrid car.
Yeah, I was for the hybrid small SUV. So I ordered the Ford Escape hybrid.
Yeah.
I got the number two in Martin County, actually in the region. The number one went to a ex Ford exec that was out on Sailfish Point, or Sewell's Point. I can't remember which one. And he got the number one vehicle in this area. I got the number two. But
wow.
it tell you what, it still is a fantastic vehicle overall. It doesn't get the money. And by the way, of course, back then, everybody comes and said, the batteries won't last. What are you going to do when they fail and all the rest of it? Well, I can tell you in that vehicle, which still exists and still runs, the batteries are not as good as they used to be. But we're talking, 15 years old? The car is 15 years old, and it's still going strong. Maintenance has been minimal. Though we have a great guy that in the group that can do work and whatever.
Todd.
Todd
Harris.
He does electric too.
He does everything.
He does everything. But actually most small shops can do a lot of this work. So have not replaced the battery pack in it. Could the battery pack be replaced and get the mileage way back up? Yes. You'd probably now at its age not worth it, but it could. Now I am holding out for battery day from Tesla, because once that hits, which was supposed to be in May and now it's moved out to September, that could be a real game changer for electrics. And I'll be frank, I want a Tesla mostly because it's a computer on wheels. It not so much because of the car, but not so much as just being electric, though I like that idea. It's a computer on wheels, and I just want a computer on wheels. That's my thing. I want a computer on wheels.
Well, you can't wait for the batteries to go on sale at Walgreens every 2 months to replace your batteries. But no, in all seriousness, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
My son up in Orlando, he works for Disney, and he's been in his Prius he's Mr. Environment, and then my wife recently traded in a Lexus for a smaller Lexus that's like the hybrid, and she loves it, and you can't hear her coming or going, which is great.
Yeah.
And then when I bought my Yukon, I remember my son Sam asking me, "Did you get a hybrid, Dad?" I go, "No, I got the gas sucking,
Yeah.
So
I
was banished from the thing.
I have to say that I did not buy it. While that was a small factor, because of my biggest factor was the technology. When I bought that Escape way back there, it was neat technology. The Prius already existed. It was out there. This was a practical vehicle, whereas the Prius was not practical at that time frame. You bought it because you wanted to make a statement about the economy, and you could save fuel costs. Now the thing
Can't
is,
make many deliveries in it though.
No, you couldn't. And I always tended towards a little practical. It's funny because when I wrapped a car around a tree off on the turnpike, and after that, I started dating my wife, and it got we got serious pretty quickly. I knew she was the right one, and she felt the same about me. And so she had a son, previous marriage, and so I'm looking around what vehicle I'm going to get. I said, well, I think I'm going to get a van. So I got a minivan. Okay. Why? It was practical. It was suitable for my business as well. I was hauling a lot of stuff back then as well. And so I got a minivan. Great vehicle. Loved it. But it did not have the lifespan of what I've got. This other guy. So anyway, technology or practical, and I use this analogy. And John, you've probably maybe heard this before. When people always talk about the technology, what's the greatest? Why don't you use this your phone for taking notes or something like that? I say, I'll usually hold up a pen or a pencil. I said, a pen or pencil plus paper is technology also. Use the right technology for the right situation. Pen and paper can be a perfect technology for the right situation. And it may be the best technology for a particular situation. It's not as good as it used to be, but it can still be the right technology.
Well, I know you use that. I know you're a good note taker. You take, you got your little book and you're taking notes. Todd does the same thing. And, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yep. So anyway, technology is fun, no matter what it is, and just look around. You can find technology.
So what I find, Eric, is that with everything that you've put in that, whatever in that incredible mind of yours, is also the way you've tied in with the business. Mm-hmm. With the Economic Development Council,
Economic Council, yep.
And he's always filling us in on what's coming down the pike or what's potentially happening. And of course, for business owners, that's really important to us.
Right. The Economic Council is a good example. We help drive the policy of where we're going, what direction we're going to be taking. We take that 40,000 foot view and we see where the holes or the gaps are in a community, and we try to help fill those gaps and and help move policy to help fill those gaps. We don't actually do that. What we do is we help move the policy that's going to help fill those gaps, or help fix things that are not working right, or point them out, I should say. When we say fix it, we really mean point it out to the powers that be so that they can address it and they can get input and make the changes that are necessary. The chambers are another good thing. Chambers. The chambers are a vital part of the community, for the business community, and not just for referrals or leads and that type of thing. They are and networking. They also help the business community communicate at a different level, with each other. And then there's the group.
Joe's done an amazing job, as is Palm City.
When I was I was president of the Palm City Chamber several years ago. But the cool thing I liked about being on the board was you got all the inside poop. And you knew what was happening out there. Now I'm like, oh, really? I feel kind of like I'm a little helpless, and I don't know where you find the time to do all these things. But
I'm going to go back to, I've got a great team. I've got my team is superb. They allow me to find the time to do these things, and I have to say that it was hard for me, but I had to start giving up duties that I used to do that weren't, that they could do better. And once I got over that, and that's hard for any entrepreneur, business owner, whatever.
How tough is that to recognize?
It's very tough, but then go back to those CEO groups. They help point it out to you and tell you, hey, you know what? Don't you have somebody you can trust with that to do that? I have one group that I was a member. This is now a number of years ago. But one of my groups, I was struggling with juggling too many things going on internally in the business, and they turned it around and they said, and I talked to them about one of my employees was my office manager at the time, and she's been with me, by the way, for 32 years. So longevity there. But they
tell her hi.
They turned to me and say, well, why don't you promote her to be an operations manager? She has the capability. We know you enough, and we know what you've talked about enough that we know that she has the capability to do that. And give her more money because she's deserves it, and give her that position and let her run with that. And I said, okay, that sounds like worth a shot. And I sat down, spoke with her, and she said, okay, I'll give it a try. And made all the
The
difference
rest
in the
is
world.
history.
It made all the difference in the world. It
Yeah.
it started me on that road of shedding certain aspects of things that I needed to do. And she's done a fantastic job. She's, and she's, in fact, we still have these conversations every now and then. This is to give you an idea how good she is. She knows she may not be in the office. Now, this is an operations manager. She may not be in the office. She may be working from home. She might be doing other things. She often knows more about what's going on in that office than I do, and I might be sitting in that office. She knows the operation and if it's working right, not working right. And I've always joking. I've kind of joked like, if you're a Star Trek fan, especially Next Generation fan, you'd say, there's always my number one. Well, she's my number one.
That's great.
Yeah, she makes sure that everything goes together, and does exactly what I would expect anybody in that position to do. And she'll call me on anything that I might be going down the wrong road. Good advisors, get good advisors. That's in different ways. That makes life a whole lot easier.
I'm
That's
told
so cool.
that I'm in a CEO group, and that's what I'm. Who else can do that? You need to do other stuff. And I personally, I would like to get back involved. And I remember at one point I said, "Oh yeah, I was on 3 boards," and now I go, yeah, I was on 3 boards, and so now am I bored? Well, I'm not necessarily, because I'm working on other things. But who else can do that? So,
So how much of the McDonald's, I guess if you want to call it the character of McDonald's, rubbed off on your future business ventures?
Yeah, just to for those listening, I was a supplier with McDonald's for 15 years prior to moving here. We supplied them with their kitchen equipment, and I went from a field guy, calling on a certain area like the Mid-Atlantic had 3,500 restaurants, and then we moved the business to Nashville, and I became the right-hand guy below our president, who at the time was my brother, but everybody thought my brother Tom and I owned the company, and they'd call and they'd be bitching. Oh, well, where's John? If Tom's not here, and the Swiss owned the company. We didn't. We just were slaves. But it was a tremendous experience in learning how an incredible organization works and how the people think. Now, sometimes you, just like any other business, you go, God, why the heck did they have that guy and that? Did he forget where he came from?
Yeah.
But learn, I would be in, Boston one week, and then I'd be in Portland, Oregon the next, and I'd be in Portland, Maine the next, and then I'd be in Tampa, and then I'd be in Detroit, and oh my gosh. And I was in Nashville, so we were only 55-minute flight on Southwest up to Midway in Chicago. And, it was like riding a bus. Oh, well, we're done early. Let's take and it was just, it was fun going to Hamburger U. We talked about that a few weeks ago in the main corporate office. And, it was just a really great experience, Greg. And I appreciate you asking about that. I can't put into words what I learned from that, but then you get down here and you're going, okay, well, now I'm in a little, a customer's a customer. Well, they are. And I can remember one time I was up in North Carolina, and in one of the stores we was doing there was a grand opening, and they had the drive-through. They had 2-liter bottles of Coke, and they were giving them away to everybody. And it was just crazy. So the drive-through was going nuts. Well, somebody came in, they go, we didn't get any hamburgers on our hamburger. There's no hamburger in the bun. And I go, well, that's the new, I'm standing there. I'm just the guy from another company. I go, oh, well, that's the new diet hamburger they have. If you know me, that sounds like something I'd say, but that was typical of, I was a Hamburglar, not a Hamburglar. I was one of these characters one time at a grand opening. I was so tall that the little suit wouldn't fit on me, and my legs were showing, and it was about 98 degrees in Franklin, Virginia that day, and it was 200 degrees in the uniform. Oh, geez,
Yeah.
the things you do. But
yeah. Well,
anyways.
they're all great business experiences, so
Yes.
forth, and you pull them out later on for whenever you need it. And I think there is, whether you're talking business or you're talking technology or whatever, learn from what went wrong as well as what's going right, and move, apply it later on. You never know when you never get upset about something that didn't go right, which it took me some years to learn. But just store it away. You're going to use that somewhere, some way, in some in some manner that might be actually really funny, or be actually it will prevent you from doing something really maybe stupid later on. So or help you help your team and the other members of the team.
I know Tom Kindred at IRSC, the SBDC, always talks about, especially people going through the SBDC courses. We want you to make your mistakes in here,
Mm-hmm.
not out there.
Not out there.
Yeah.
And that's so true.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that.
But you can still learn from.
Yeah. It goes back to that opening statement when I said, if I just didn't do what the business I work for did, I'd probably be a success. And that has stuck with me. Now, I've made plenty of my own mistakes. I mean, you always will, but it was just that always just sat in a little bit of the back of my mind. Even when I really didn't think about it, there was always that little bit of a tidbit back there. Well, that's right. They did something. Somebody else did something like that. Or that I'm not going to do that, because that could lead down the wrong path. That would not be a good path. So, it happens.
So your old show here on STU, was Computers and Whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the new whatever coming down the pike?
Oh, well, the new whatever, we already partially experienced the new whatever with the fact that everybody started working remotely. The ability to work remote. I have preached that for years, that people should be taking advantage of that capability. And most people just said, nah, not going to happen, not going to work. It can't work. Wow. I can't have my staff remotely. I can't manage them. I can't oversee them and all the rest of it. So when everybody was forced to go home and work remotely, that could, it opened up a lot of people's eyes to how successful it could be. In fact, when we were going into the phase 1, phase 2 aspect, we were a central service, so we really never closed down, but we just did disperse. We pushed people out into, other areas. But I tell this story because it is actually, it even happened in our case. We had a technician who was on his way out. I mean, he just wasn't performing well. And he was in an environment where he was being overseen, and in having to come to work and all the rest of it, and he just wasn't performing well. So we were actually in the process of replacing him with somebody else, but the new guy was too green, and then all this stuff happened with COVID and all that, and the other guy got sick, not from COVID, but he got sick. So for the time being, we kept the other guy, and we let him work from home. Different person, without somebody, different person. It was like night and day without somebody sitting over him. He is one of those people that is just so productive and can be self-motivating to get key and be on top of things. And it wasn't because he was going to lose his job, because he had plenty of "I'm going to lose my job" beforehand threats. That wasn't it. It was he just found his work environment that he just flourished and it's done well. He has become. I had team members who didn't want to work with him anymore because of what was happening. That's why he was on his way out. And now it's like, hey, he's doing fantastic. They turn to him now, different person completely. And a lot of other businesses have found the same thing. So what we did, when we were coming back out of quarantine, out of into that phase 1 scenario, my operation manager and I we were talking, and she says, so what are we going to do? We're going to be bringing people back. And I said, the numbers don't don't you look at you seeing the numbers? It doesn't make sense to bring them back. They're more productive being offsite than some of them than
Right,
onsite. There's
yeah.
a few people we had to bring back in that we had sent home, though that worked as well. It wasn't as efficient. We had one of our more or less receptionists, our front person. She was working from home. She would check in equipment with our front door locked. We had to sign up there. People would call in. She would check in the equipment, get all the information from a little table that was out front there. Then we would send somebody out there to collect the equipment to bring it inside when we were shut down, just to keep isolated.
Sure.
She did it all from home. So it's all possible to be done. You just have to come up with a way, utilize technology. We were able to leverage our technology to be able to make it so that she was sitting at home, and yet people would call in, and she'd answer, and it would be like they were thinking that she was like inside the building, and she was not even. She was in Jensen Beach, So, and we're in Stewart, so it could have been Fort Pierce. It didn't matter, It could have been halfway around the world. It still worked. Utilize your technology the right way. If it works for you, or if you don't know how to make it work right, we can help you figure out how to make it work right. So that's the newest thing. That's one of the new things that's going to come about. The way servers and cloud is used is going to change. The cloud that we use today and utilize today is going to be different than the cloud that's coming. So there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to fully take advantage of the new cloud environment, but it's going to be to the benefit of especially small business. Large businesses already kind of move there a little bit. In some ways, they're a little bit more rigid. They can't move into the new cloud environment as easily. So I think you're going to see that coming along. It was well moving towards that. The COVID has pushed that a little bit, but it's not that there's resistance. It's just that it can't be all absorbed right now. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that next year.
Wow.
So that's what's going to be coming up as well. So remote capabilities, being able to have mixed meetings like what we did with the MCBE meeting this morning, which was we had virtual and live combined. And we're going to see a lot more of that. I think, and that can be probably perfected a little bit. We used our meeting owl to share the room and all that, which worked out.
That was really a cool
Way
thing.
hard.
It's a meeting owl, Greg. No, it's
Okay.
I
got to get there next week.
Well,
I've gotta
you
get
can
there.
explain it because it's very cool. Because I was watching the screen where we had some of our members at home.
Yep.
And then down was a little square with the speaker who was Eric. And so he's moving around the room and this thing's following him. And I'm going, how the hell?
Following the image,
I'm looking
following me
behind,
talking.
Seeing, does he have somebody from the office here? No.
Yep,
Yeah,
it does it automatically. It follows me around. And what happens is the people in the virtual side, they see the entire room. So they're seeing the entire room on their screen. Plus, they're seeing the presenter, the person who's primarily talking, is the one who the system also focuses on. So they kind of see a split screen.
So it's video following audio.
Video following audio in this case, yes.
So cool.
Yes.
Man, you're a quick learner.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we put those out now, and we've been and they've come down. As I mentioned in the meeting, this used to be something that like Cisco and others would put out, and it was just unattainable for small business. There was $5,000 to start, maybe $10,000. I mean, some of the real fancy things even went beyond that. Then you had all these reoccurring service charges and all that to do it. Now you can get into a meeting owl for like the pro version, which handles a bigger room, bigger conference room, or bigger room also. It's like $9.99. You don't necessarily have to buy. You don't have to necessarily buy all these other services, though some additional services are probably beneficial. But it's not like it's a huge monthly cost. You can get the other one for like $7.99, and that's the basic one. And if you have a small conference room, or that's the one I used in this larger room, it's not as efficient. The mics aren't as good. The cameras are great. The mic picking up isn't as good in large rooms. That's the biggest difference. So you can do that, and a small business can afford to put this type of thing in there and act like a big business, and be equivalent to that large scale business.
Be the business.
Yeah.
Be the business.
Well,
and do it anywhere in the world. Not just,
that's what's amazing.
Yeah. Do that.
Technology.
Yeah.
That's Eric's middle name. Really. impressive.
Carol is doing the League of Women Voters telecasts from
Mhm.
our conference room
Uh-huh.
on an iPad. We
Yep.
have television lighting.
Yep.
It looks great. And it's on Facebook Live,
Mhm.
and it then goes to our website. So it's on YouTube,
Yep.
on our YouTube page. And, that's the wave of the future.
It is. It's part of it. Yep.
It's always been this mammoth television effort through St. Lucie County. Well, now League of Women Voters is doing a Facebook Live. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Let those women show everybody that they are in charge.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can be, we had and I use this as an example. We had a presentation we did for a larger company down in Boca, and when we did our meeting with them, and in our meeting when we had like 3 people with the meeting owl in our conference room up here, and this is the height of the shutdown and everything. And we were going up against a nationally based company that does what we do, and they had whittled it down to 2, and it was this nationally based company and us. And our presentation, and it's funny because the CEO, when we got online when we first started the presentation, the CEO goes, "How are you doing that?" They had not seen this type of technology, and it was a good mid-sized company, and they did not know about this technology. So it's not that it's and you can go online and see all about it, but call us up and we can explain the fine details. But yes, and it does start up that way. It does start up that way.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it kind of looks like a meeting owl with the eye.
It's pretty cool.
Camera
It's
lighting.
really, really something else.
Well, in our old industry is, it's gut check time for the unions,
Mm-hmm.
because especially now you have the NBA in the bubble.
Yep.
You've got Major League Baseball with what they call a skeleton neutral television crew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That crew may not, and most likely will not be union.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Los Angeles? I mean, I used to have to bring 5 union guys with me wherever I went in the country.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the deal that they had with Fox and the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's all different.
Yeah.
You've got people on the Today Show doing stuff from their house.
Well, weren't you telling us a week or so ago that, like, the baseball game, for example, they're going to have a guy like at one end of the stadium or not even in there?
Oh, that's the magic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the arena.
Yeah.
They've got one crew for radio.
Yeah.
And 1/4 of the arena.
Yeah.
And another crew for television on the other corner of the arena. This is a 20,000 seat arena.
Yeah.
And so they're socially distanced,
Yeah.
but they will never travel.
Yeah.
So they will, and the guys of the Miami Heat, they're at the AAA down in Miami.
Yeah.
They'll never be with the team.
Yeah.
And as long as this crazy stuff is going on.
Yeah. And you mentioned travel. It's interesting because I actually had to travel a few weeks back, and I've traveled from Atlanta. So I flew back from Atlanta.
How was it?
I tell people this. I felt safer flying and going through Hartsfield Jackson than I do when I go to the local grocery store. It was less.
Wait a minute, back up. That's
were
the worst.
your arms tired or what?
That's the worst airport.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you about Hartsfield Jackson. Okay, I walk in there, and so I have TSA pre. Yeah, but so I go into the TSA pre line, and there's 2 guys had already gone through. I look over, and if you know about Hartsfield Jackson and the TSA pre, you can look over to the regular TSA lines. So I'm the only guy actually has to get checked in through the TSA pre. There's no line. I look over to the regular TSA lines. There's no one there. It's empty.
Really?
It's empty. And I'm going, and you can see all the little snake lines, the typical, Disney snake lines. There's no one there. The TSA guys are just sitting there. They once you check initially, are just sitting there like kind of waiting, twiddling their thumbs. They're not talking to anybody because there's nobody in line. So I actually get to the gate. First of all, I had to take the plane train. Okay. There's only 4 of us on the, in our car in the plane train. We get off. There's pretty much not many others on any of the other cars. Go up, get to my gate. And there's one other guy sitting socially distanced away. And there's one guy kind of pacing by the windows, that overlook the tarmac. And he eventually disappears. And for the longest time, there's nobody else. Eventually, some other people, come in and arrive and so forth. And everybody's, socially distancing and all the rest of it. And eventually we board and go on. And I flew Delta, and, I like Delta. Mm-hmm. They still have the seats that are spaced. The center ones are not available for, unlike a few of the other airlines, which we'll not fill them up if we don't want to, otherwise they will. And it was really nice because actually the in typical Delta, this is customer service. You're talking about, doing customer service. The flight attendant comes up to me actually and says, "Oh, Mr. Keene, we're just so glad you're flying with us. We see that you haven't flown with us for 6 months, and we're just so happy that you're on board." And it's like, I said, there's 2 things about that. First of all, I appreciate that it's really nice. It was it was nice that they had identified me in that way and so forth, and singled me out, and that they appreciated that I was flying again. And I really hadn't had a reason to fly since in that time frame. The other thing was, though, that also goes in the back of my head because I'm a data guy. It's like, okay, they're really mining my data.
Yeah, sure are.
They know how much more do they really know about me and my habits of flying and so forth. Is that why my cost of my, and I know Delta is very, very good at this. And I have to admire them for it in some ways. The cost of my ticket might be a little bit more based on the way I typically fly in the past, than it could be if I was going through some other alternative, source, or if it was under a different name, Anyway, yeah, it is, again, I always say, Google will know more about me than the government ever will. But Amazon's probably right there, close second. Facebook, third, fourth, somewhere in that way. But Delta was mining my data, and they let that flight attendant know that I was on the plane, that I hadn't flown in a while, and they really appreciated it because the few other people that were kind of close around me, they had flown more recently than I had, but I'm sure they went to other people as well. But this just shows you how powerful data can be to create a good experience.
Oh yeah,
really good.
So how many people were on the flight? Was it?
It was not bad. It was not packed. I would say there was probably. Oh gosh, that's really hard to say. Ultimately, 50-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, I'm going to guess. I didn't really count. I kind of wanted to actually start counting them, but I got kind of sidetracked and I forgot about it. When they were out there waiting.
Several years ago, when you do that right after 9/11, you get on a plane and start counting them and see how many you thought were terrorists. I did that when I flew, like the day after they started flying.
Yeah.
It's ironic. My son and his friend, they flew back from Turks and Caicos after being down in the islands for 6 months. Charter captain flew from Turks and Caicos on American in a full-size jet to Miami, and there was 4 people on the plane.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they moved them all up to business class. So
yeah. Well, at least they did that. They some airlines have been notorious for not doing that when, at all. And then, or the flight attendants get in trouble for doing it.
Sure.
And that's like, there's a good example of bad management. Create a great customer experience if it's available to do that without affecting anybody else. And I'll give you an example on that flight, that Delta flight. There was a lady who came in a little bit later, and she went up to the desk there, and she said, I moved my seat because I just want to make sure that the seat was moved, and that I'm registered in this other seat, because I wanted to be a little bit more spaced away from other people, and there's nobody in the other aisles in front of me and behind me or to the side of me. And is that still the case? And the person at the desk said, yeah, right now there's nobody else around you. I can't guarantee that that somebody won't pick an area near you. It says, but I have some other locations for you. So if that happens, I'll let you know, and maybe we can see about moving you. And she said,
boy, that's nice.
So that was the good part. So I'm thinking, oh, that's really super nice. And it's wonderful. So the lady now here's the funny part. So the lady comes over, and there's plenty of empty seats kind of around me. And she ends up sitting right behind me.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, literally, there are other empty seats around me. So here's somebody who's expressing concern about somebody being in the row next to him, and then she ends up sitting right next to me.
Oh, she didn't.
Right behind me.
She didn't kick the back of your seat.
You couldn't.
I'm talking about in the waiting area. In the waiting area, she ends up sitting right behind me. So So anyway,
a little confused.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Oh, wow.
So, but again, whether it's technology or whatever it might be, take a look at what you're doing, business, technology, apply it and use it with some good common sense. And if you don't know, get some outside advice. I think that goes back to that CEO groups or, your local experts. John, if you want to really redo a bathroom and want to do it right, get advice about the fixtures and what you need to put in there.
Hey, I want to tell you, we're number one at taking care of your number two.
There you go. What about smart homes? That's
it's big, and I'll you talk about trying to keep up with the technology when we get our trade magazine each month, and of course, they really rely on our industry big for when they have their kitchen and bath, and they've combined it now with the Builders Show in Orlando. And you want to talk about a show that's so big that you even in 3 days you can't get around it.
Yeah.
But the technology of smart and Bluetooth and push button, and your showers, it's a button, or it's a Alexa, turn on my, so.
Oh yeah.
And you generally have, most people may not go that way, but yes, the smart homes, and now, they don't have to run cable in the walls anymore for your Wi-Fi and everything. I mean, it's, I remember my brother, running all kinds of stuff at his house in Nashville, and he just built a new house, and it's like a piece of cake. So,
So is everything Wi-Fi?
Yeah, pretty much for him. He's he's a clap on, clap off, whatever, He's always send me an Echo or an Alexa, and I just give them to my son up in Orlando. And, we're like Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone at our house. We were making fun of the Fred Flintstone car last week. But, I mean, the industry is amazing. If you want to, you got to pay for it. It's not cheap. It's not like, you can put a shower system in your master bath for a little over, a good one for about, $1,500, or you can go and get a little smart on it and have it, do things for you with the steam shower, with the Bluetooth, with the everything turns on based on what you say. And that's 4 times the price. I
actually heard a good joke this morning, and I may butcher it, but I'll give it a shot, from Kevin Madden, Group 1 Security, one of our members. And he says, so I went into this place and it said, Siri, turn on the alarm. And nothing happens. So, Siri, turn on the alarm. Siri, activate the alarm. You have, then he hears a voice. You have the wrong personal assistant. I am an Alexa.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he told it better, but
that's what's even better about that. Know your audience.
Yeah.
That's it is a lot to keep track of, though, isn't it? Once you're with everything going on.
And you know what? And if you ask me, do I have that in my house? I would say no. In fact, we had a, Amazon Echo, whatever came along, and we says, no.
You don't have a talking refrigerator? What's wrong with you?
I do not. Of course, once I break down to that and get that Tesla, it'll be following and listening to everything I say and do anyway. But I do not. I do have, because I do have, I use Android, so I do have some of that, and it's listening right now, even though you should turn it off. I have it in a holster thing, so it can't hear me as well, but it does listen.
He's got a muffler on his Android.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds like a personal problem, Greg.
But that's it. Yeah, they do listen, and they do record the information. And I was in a security event, and they were talking about some of the security aspects, and one of the biggest things is they says you have to make sure turn Siri off. Turn off the phone. You cannot have Siri running, because Siri understands too well and gets recorded. So that's one of those things. Siri and the Google, Google is the same way. I mean, they're really all the same. They record what's going on. Now they supposedly aggregate it and all that. But as I said before, Google knows more about me than the government ever will.
Yeah.
And that's what you just have to be. You have to be wise and careful about it, and that's just the case. But, we can help you out with that. That's what we do. We can help put it all together for your business or whatever.
Give us the full, we got a couple minutes left.
Sure.
So why don't you, tell her, I'll tell people about you, but you're over there at Regency Square.
Yep.
The
shopping plaza center there. Yeah. We modeled that about, almost 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago, or a year and 3/4. And of course, that was one of the comments from my operations manager. Why did we do this when everybody's working from home? And I said, we will need the space, believe me.
No, we had good food and drink. That's why we did it.
And again, some people work best from home. But we're in the Regency Square. You can visit us on the web at cwnow.com. You can give us a call. We're happy to take your call at 772-287-5215. You can email us. You can email us at info@cwnow.com. But you can get all the information from the website. And you can text us, blog us, Facebook us, and all the rest of it as well. So, if you have any question, the bottom line is, if you don't understand your technology, or you want to know more about your technology, or if you want to take care of your technology, call us, and we're going to help you figure out how to do it.
These are the guys. That's one great thing about our show with on Wednesday night with the MCBE group. It's always the best of the best. And he is definitely the best of the best. That's fantastic, Eric. It's always a pleasure to hear you.
Do you still have the 256 computer in your window? No.
No.
I guess not.
I think I have that in mine. I think it's in my office. Anyways.
Mine still has a hand crank.
Yeah. Greg, thanks. Pleasure as always.
This is fun.
Greg Wyatt, world famous Greg Wyatt, and Eric Keene from C&W Technology. And I'm John Campion with European Kitchen and Bath. Happy to be a co-host, and we'll see you next week, y'all.
Yeah, and Ray will be with you on McBiz.
That's right. Ray, we look forward to it.
The McBiz McShow.
Man.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right. This is WSTU Stewart, Martin County's Heritage Station, on TuneIn, Alexa, and Google Home.